right. Good morning. Good morning. It is 6:31. It is April 29th. I hope everyone's feeling well. My name is Scott Redler. I'm the Chief Strategic Officer of T3Live.com and the founder of Red Dog Mindset. This is the 630 Club where we've been talking ideas, figuring out the narrative, how to make money day in, day out, keep your routine strong since 2020, the pandemic. It's already 2025. Boy, does time fly when you're having fun. Anyway, here we are. Yesterday, they shook the tree a little bit. Thank goodness, though. We talked about, would they have some kind of tariff deal over the weekend? A lot of people were expecting it, the way the market acted, and then there was none. So, Sunday night, the futures was down 27 handles. And then yesterday, they gave you a way to reduce some longs and gave you a way to actually put on some hedges, and they gave you a way to cover it. Like, it was like one of those days where it wasn't a trap. Wasn't like everybody came in long after a big week, and then all of a sudden they opened you down 50 handles and blanket sold you, and you had to just figure out where to get out. It actually pushed above Friday's high. You could have sold some strength, went back below. You could have faded some, and then we were brought into levels that held. It was a pretty great trading day. A lot of people were complaining. I'm like, what the hell are you guys complaining about? Anyway, what does that look like here? Well, this is a chart of the SPYs, and I go over it every single day. I give you guys ways to navigate. Last week you had your higher low at 508. This is the candle that kind of turned on the rally when we went above, that Monday high. Then you had a gap, which was sold. So if you were long from here, you were able to sell some strength into resistance, and then they held the gap. And then yesterday, it played with this 551.05, went as high as 553.55, held 5. Remember, I'm like 543 is important, held 545. So all we had is like a doji type day. And you could have, depending on how you played it, made or lost, a bunch of money. So anyway, with that being said, SPYs are, up 50 cents today. It's kind of hard here because the market is overbought. The oscillator was like plus 90 yesterday, and then was brought down to plus 70, and it's still overbought. But here we are. The longer we hold here, I guess the higher the probability, maybe we could see the 200-day. It's hard to buy strength, so this area is really tricky. So hopefully you made enough money, in this active sequence before this, and now you're just trying to, nickel and dime on some specific type of action. You look at the Qs also, it went a little bit above 473, came in, held this 465 area. Maybe we get another inside day ahead of big reports. Like, big reports are coming out soon, right? It's today. Today's Tuesday. This morning you have Spotify. I didn't play it. Then you have tomorrow, I think, is Meta. Let's see, which is something just started moving around, NVDA and the SPYs. Maybe some tariff talk. Let's see. Anyway, we'll see. It's a lot of headlines out there. Bottom line is, the market moves around a lot more than it used to. Up or down 3-4 points in the SPYs is nothing compared to the way it used to be. Like, like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4. Now it's like 10 to 20. So you really need to have your levels, played out here. So anyway, everyone was all excited about Google. Google was nothing. I had a call spread on, made some money, got lucky. Not going to get lucky. I just navigated it pretty well. Went to 166, sold some strength, and now some people like Red Dog. What do you think? Do you think it could rebuild and continue to the upside and get to 169 or 170? I'm like, it's not really that compelling. I'm like, what I'll do is I bought some 165 calls just in case it wants to get above this, just in case we get another push. They were like $1.10. So I said that'll be a way to play Google. Or now, you could say, hey, this is your post-earnings low because I filled the gap, which isn't really so great. You could be long versus 158.60 and put your stop in if you're not that active, but it's not great. I will say Tesla was interesting. Yesterday I told you guys this 292 to 294 would be some big resistance. A lot of people were long overnight because Friday's action was super duper strong. And if you sold into 292, 294, you were able to buy it back and went right into the midway of this candle, 272-ish. So Tesla is acting a little bit different. It's up a little bit this morning. People are like, but Red Dog, the quarter was horrible. I'm like, I get it. From 488 down to the low 200s cut in more than half, kind of was a little bit priced in. But now we'll see. It was some interesting news that for the first time there was an insider buy in Tesla. Wow. One of the executives was like, wow, they bought it around 256. You do have a potential loss, launch in India, and then they're talking about tariffs on automakers from overseas. So we'll see if that's enough to, keep this up. It might need an inside day. I do think someone's like Red Dog, gun to head. Actually, I don't like saying that because guns are bad. No, they're not. The people who use the guns are bad. Anyway, where could this go? It could go to 325 if the spies want to get to 560. We're not saying they have to get there, but if they want to do an extra push, from now till through earnings this week and maybe next week and maybe some ink deals, maybe this Tesla can get above 294-ish and see higher prices. But you got to be very careful with your prices. I know anyone who bought the open yesterday did not hold through the volatility yesterday. That wasn't easy. So, exits and entries matter. I say that all the time. But anyway, so that's Tesla. It's already post earnings. Netflix has been absolutely in fuego. What a move, right? A lot of people made really good money here. Being long versus 998 or long versus 1032 or playing for momentum through 1064, and all of a sudden, boom, hit a high of 1114 yesterday, above that 1106. Wow. Awesome that it could do that. I don't trade Netflix that much, but it's on my go-to list. I give a plan every day as the chief strategic officer because that's my job. But anyway, so I guess you'll see what happens here. As far as people like Red Dog, what are you playing for earnings? I did put on a little call spread for Meta. I figured, hey, Meta was as high as 740, broke 725. It's been in a corrective phase since. A lot of talk about monopolies and antitrust and advertising slowing. I was like, you know what? I feel like I could do a 570 by 5. And what I do, a 570 by 5, 95 call spread, thinking that Meta can get up into this area and still be nowhere. So I'm risking 5 to make 15, 3 to 1, not so bad. And this way I don't have to worry about it, trading it, or maybe I'll trade it after hours. We'll see how it goes. It's Wednesday, but I did put it on, so far 1 for 1 with earnings. So Google worked, but it didn't. I had to make it work. It wasn't like awesome. And then I obviously post earnings was really good for Netflix and Tesla. So we'll see what this does here. I don't think I'm playing Amazon, but we'll see how it goes. Amazon shook the tree a little bit yesterday. It went as low as 184.89. So that's 184.89. See if it continues to rebuild with all the tariffs around all the merchandise and everything that Amazon does. I just feel like it can easily get caught in the crosshairs. So for me, it feels like it could be hard. So if it's going to be hard, what do I need to do it, right? What's your hard, right? And the other day I was listening to a podcast and like, what's your hard? Being in shape is hard, or being overweight is hard. Which is your hard? Would you rather be in shape and work to have your standards high on how you look and how you want to react and how you feel, or would you rather not? Which hard do you want? Anyway, do you want to work hard? Do you want to be prepared? Do you want to have your levels? Do you want to be ready to roll when the market's ready to go? Is your go time primed? Or do you want to just sit there, wake up at 8:45 and tag along with other people's plays? I don't know. Anyway, I'd rather be prepared myself and hope get you guys all prepared. So anyway, Apple, I'm also probably not going to play, but it's been coming back up. It's got some room towards, the 50 days right there. Really nice move. It's kind of tradable, but it's not that interesting. Some smack in the middle. So it has to be a little bit better than feared, in my opinion. NVIDIA is interesting, kind of like inside day, rebuilding here. As long as it holds this 105.73, maybe there's a chance that it has another trade here. Again, it's kind of caught in the crosshairs of everything between, tariffs on semiconductors and, DeepSeek and, this and that. It's like, you have to be very selective in trading NVIDIA. I used to trade NVIDIA every day. Now I just traded at inflection points. But I'll watch it here. It's kind of interesting. If you could hold this 105, NVIDIA is down 60 cents. It's at 108. Maybe it builds a little bit more and then at some point takes out this downtrend and goes to the upside. So, it's worth a look. It's worth thinking about. It's on the B list. So usually NVIDIA is on the A list. So what you do is you go to list. You have an A list, a B list, a C list, and a D list, depending on the setup. So, there's only so much space you have on your trading platform. I have 6 monitors, so I have a lot of space, but every now and then you want to move up and down the names on your list based on how they're trading and the opportunities. So NVIDIA to me is kind of on the B list. Tesla's moved up to the A- list, and I do look at the SPYs every day. Dash, some people are like, what about Dash, Red Dog? Well, Dash is kind of interesting here. Dash is, in the midst of this whole little takeover thing with Deliveroo, and I know some people love it, some people think it's not great. I have my stop in at 179. I do think that this 215 gets taken out at some point, maybe the next earnings, we'll see. All in all, it's acting well. It's above the moving averages. This is on like the B+ list. I would say Palantir has been on the A list. I made a lot of money in Palantir. Yesterday, I was cute to the fact where, it opened up and I actually took it off. I took off Palantir yesterday. First time taking it off pretty much since I bought it in here when we made a power play. And I also took it off the power plays. I figured, hey, why not take off a 4-day trade that made really great money from 91 to almost 114. What's Palantir doing today? Let's see, PLTR is, it's down 80 cents. What's this low? It was loose and wide. You could have sold strength, bought it back. It's letting the 8-day catch up. It just needs some time. So at this point, I wouldn't mind if it just digests in here, and maybe there's a trade from red to green. Down 80 cents, not so bad. Anyway, morning spot down on results. All right, well that's good. I didn't play spot. Spots. Ooh, look at that. Some people are like, Red Dog, all those podcasts out there, you should be buying spot. I'm like, I don't really trade Spotify. I post it here and there and I put the chart up. So hey, I just saved myself about 10 grand. Isn't that nice? It's nice. But anyway, what's the levels here on spot? Obviously 652 is not going to work. This low is this is like 560-ish. Where did it just say it is? So it's below. This is 550. Actually, this low is 555. So that's one support spot. And then what's this? This is 537. So I guess see if 555 holds or 537. I didn't see the results. I'm doing this with you guys, but it's, what you do is here is if it just seems like it was in line and just wasn't, because it was pretty much priced for perfection, then what you do is you wait for it to put a 5-15-minute low in, and then see if you could buy Versa, and if it doesn't rally, you get out of the way, and you see how much of today's gap holds for tomorrow. Short any gap up at 4 a.m. in tech, cover before 7, go back to bed. Anyway, so here's, so this is down 47, down 8%. 555, 537, and then this is like your real spot, but that would be a pretty big down move. So anyway, that's that. What about did SoFi come out? I did take a little SoFi, which I got bullied into. It's up a nickel. I guess it didn't come out yet. I took the $14 calls for 24 cents. It's worth a try. Anyway, let's move on. Let me see what my dogs are saying. It's 644. Sometimes there's some value from the Red Dog community coming in at the 6:30 club. Let's see. We got good morning. Could you please share the indicators you use often? That's a whole webinar. I use the 8 and 21-day moving average. When we're above it, I try and be long. I look at other moving averages above. Every now and then I look at the oscillator, and right now we are overbought. I'm more of a cotton napkin technician. I look at levels. Either they feel good or they don't. If the market comes in, the stock holds up, I buy it. Yesterday, midday, SPYs made a new low. Tesla didn't. ASTS didn't. Some things didn't, and then they had a nice rally. So you want to see, divergences also. But anyway, is IBIT still in play? I'm still long it. You want me to take a look at the IBIT? Let's see. IBIT is doing what today? IBIT is, it's up 6 cents, hanging in there, kind of rebuilding. You remember 2 weeks ago, this was your money play. In the 6:30 club, I was telling you on Thursday, Friday that I'm buying a ton of the $50 calls, that if Bitcoin gets above 86, 87,000, that it can go to 95,000. Hey, sometimes it works, and it did right here. This was your 85, 86,000 Bitcoin, went to 95,000, went to 54. Now it's going sideways. I still think you can get towards 56.20. You could actually pull this down a little bit. It's your new point of reference. This is 53.12. And it needs to digest a little bit. So I am sticking with it. I've taken a bunch off with power plays, but I do think that it can create a bull flag and continue. So yeah, IBIT is still in play. Mr. is still in play. You know, you can now put this as your active support. That's 354. So I might as well put that right here. By the way, you want to hear a little Prince?
Like you, he's on the PLG. Birds on the verge of being seen. No rubber, baby. Give me the keys. I'm gonna try to take it with you. Baby, you're too fast.
Anyway, by the way, when I get in the morning in the office at 6 o'clock, I don't turn the CNBC on. I don't turn Bloom on. I turn on Prince, Little Red Corvette. No, I turn on whatever music I'm in the mood to listen to because I would rather relax. I'd rather do my 40 charts. I'd rather put my price points in. I have my news up. I don't need to listen to other people's thoughts and opinions. You know, I have a bunch of people that I look at certain charts and I do my macro homework to see what the news is out there. And I'd rather be in a good mood so I can execute with confidence when the time is right, not sit and listen to everyone debate. And I don't want to listen to Dan Ives downgrade the market when we're at the lows like we were 2.5 weeks ago, and then pump the hell out of it when things are looking better. What just happened with Tesla? Oh, everything's coming in a little bit. Oh, SPY's down $1.40 now. All right, my dogs, it's the volatility of the day. Anyway, Percent, what do you say? No deals? Anyway, yeah, plus we're overbought. What is my opinion on spot? I just gave you levels. This GME looks kind of tight. Mr. See if it holds 354. IBIT, see if it holds 53.12. And now the SPYs, SPYs have some room. If you're looking at the SPYs, you can get this out of the way now. You can raise this up a little bit. This is no longer 543. This is yesterday's low, 545. Does 545 hold? Does 551 doesn't matter anymore? And we'll see, how do we hold? How do we digest? Let's see. All right, Tesla's only down $1. Give a better opportunity. Usually when you have a gap up and you have longs, you trim and trail. Usually, sometimes when you have a gap down, if they hold versus levels and you see a signal, you get more size and you can make more money. But we'll see. All right, guys. It's 6:49. I got to jump. Good luck today.